We have a slow hand here. Swamp, Rot Farm, Ash Barrens. But we don't exactly know how these hands are going to play out. We're going to keep this because we have access to the lands that we're going to need later on. And Rot Farm is probably all the green mana that we're going to need. So we'll probably swamp Ash Barrens for another swamp. And then play Golgari Rot Farm turn 2 and Bonner's Ornament turn 3. Okay, we're going to discard Weather the Storm here. If we're playing against familiars, it's not going to be a game where our life total is going to be overly important. We're just going to go ahead and put down Crypt Rats here, turn 3, and use that to basically take care of everything they're playing here. But we just got Geth's Verdict instead. So we do have quite a few choices here on how we want to play. We could just play land, hold up removal spell here, but I think that putting the Crypt Rats down is going to get us the most value, and we have the Pulse of Murasa ready to bring the Crypt Rats back later. We are going to have to try and keep the clock in mind for these matches. So I'm going to have to try and remember my shortcut keys as much as possible. We could play Bonner's Ornament and keep up 2 on Crypt Rats. But I think that we can just keep up 3 on Crypt Rats with Ash Barrens. So this isn't something that they're going to be able to easily play through. They're going to need Snap or Echoing Truth. So we still got a pretty good trade here. And we can use the Ash Barrens to use our final piece of mana there. And we'll go get Swamp. We have Pulse to return the Crypt Rats here. But we're probably looking at just playing Bonner's Ornament and pass. Oh, that might change things here. We might look to actually just Verdict that familiar. So Bonner's Ornament Verdict looks pretty good. Okay, they have the Prohibit there, so we'll use the Defile to get the familiar off the board. Okay, we have Pulse of Murasa to return the Crypt Rats when we're looking to sweep the board again. But I think that we might be looking to just use Bonner's Ornament for a couple turns in order to draw cards. They don't have a very significant clock here. Pulse of Murasa is going to gain us a bunch of life. So let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we don't have enough mana to Chainer's Edict and use the Bonder's Ornament, so we might just go ahead and use the Pulse now, so that we can double spell. Or we could try and use the Ornament to try and hit a land, and double spell that way. Okay, we get Thorn off the top. That'll be nice after we use Crypt Rats to clear the board. Okay, Weather the Storm. That'll be another nice way to gain life. Okay, it looks like they're going to flicker in response to the Chainer's Edict. So they're going to be able to draw 2 cards off that. Okay, and the Edict goes off, so they only have 1 creature left. Probably going to Pulse of Murasa at this point, although I could cast down Weather the Storm. And that would gain quite a bit of life here. Don't think I want to cast the cast down yet. We're going to wait here, and we'll Pulse of Murasa. End of the opponent's turn. Get the Crypt Rats back. Okay, Okeomancer is going to get them back the Ghostly Flicker, I believe. We'll wait to see what this is targeting, and then while the target's on the stack, we're going to cast Pulse of Murasa. Okay, so they have the Prohibit ready to go, but that will only counter a 2-mana spell, and we're going to be playing Crypt Rats. I'm wondering if I should just crack the Crypt Rats now or wait. I think there's no problem with just waiting till the opponent's combat step to crack the rats. If they have Flicker, that's not going to help their creatures anyway. We can just Crypt Rats for 3 here. We could do it for 4. Just do that extra point for our life totals here. Crypt Rats is going to be one of our main ways to win the game. Okay, another Okeomancer, which will probably get them a Ghostly Flicker here. Again, we have Pulse of Murasa to clear the board a 3rd time. And they don't have enough mana to prohibit this. Defile. So that's -3, -3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We don't quite have enough for Chainer's Edicts out of the graveyard. So I think we'll just pulse and get the Crypt Rats back. We're not going to have enough to activate the rats, but we're going to want to pulse before they can prohibit. So we should probably play the Crypt Rats before they have prohibit up as well. We still have Defile available, so if they try and blink the Archaeomancer, we can kill it. And this will also strand the Ephemerate in the opponent's graveyard. Oh, I didn't see they tapped the Chantry for the Ephemerate, floating a blue mana. I just saw the island untapped. So they are going to be able to counter the spell and return the prohibit to hand with the Archaeomancer. And they're returning the Ephemerate with the Archaeomancer. So we're going to have a very grindy game here. And Echoing Truth on the Crypt Rats with prohibit up. Okay, they return Preordained to hand, keeping up 4 mana for the prohibit. And we get another Crypt Rats. So we could play Crypt Rats twice here. Okay, so they're returning the Echoing Truth with the Archaeomancer, probably so they can bump the Crypt Rats here. Yeah. They have 4 cards left in hand, so they could easily have another counterspell for the Crypt Rats. We do have 7 mana here, so we could flash back the Chainer's Edict when we're ready. Just a little bit of value here. Okay, so we got that prohibit out of the way, but Ephemerate is going to bring it back. So basically they're able to counter something every turn. So we're going to need to double spell. Yeah. Makes sense that they're doing that during their main step so that we don't have access to cast down to answer their Ephemerate while they have prohibit down. Night's Whisper to draw extra cards. Let's start with that. Okay. So we got those extra lands that we were looking for. I think that we'll just pass here and hold up Cast Down for the Ochaeomancer. I don't think we want to throw our Crypt Rats into a prohibit here. We could just hold up Bonder's Ornament and draw cards. The opponent's clock isn't something that we need to worry about right now. More worrisome are these Ephemerates. Okay, we are doing better on a clock now than we were before. So that's one thing we want to keep an eye on. Storm count is 3. So Weather the Storm could be worth quite a bit of life here. Read them bones. More card draw. Don't think they'll want to prohibit this. Oh, I'm wrong. They do prohibit. Okay. So we can get Crypt Rats down and hold up 3 mana. They are going to be able to ephemerate in response, but they won't be able to flash back their ephemerates. So we're going to go ahead and use the Crypt Rats right away and clear the Oracle and the Ochaeomancer off the board. Okay, they have Ochaeomancer Ephemerate again, so once again, they're able to create quite a bit of value, grabbing their Echoing Truth. So we're both still fighting with very full hands. We're just going to return a swamp here, pass the turn, hold up, draw a card. And we have enough mana that we can weather the storm as well as draw a card. They probably have Prohibit here, right? Nope. So we managed to get the Ochaeomancer off the board. They only flicker the Mire, which means they do put an Ochaeomancer back on top of the library. but that their Ephemerate only hits the God Pharaoh's Fateful instead of the Archaeomancer, so that's gas for us. Just going to pass through their turn so that we can use the Ornament. Okay, they're getting a bunch of value here with their Ephemerates. So we all have a ton of cards in hand. Hooray for all of us. Okay, and this is basically GG once they have the Sage's Road Denizen in play. But they don't have a way to reduce costs here. We'll just play one of these Weather the Storms, gain a bunch of life. But it's not about that right now, it's going to be more about clock. And if the opponent finds a way to combo out, Crypt Rats off the top. Okay, if we can get that to resolve, that's an answer. Okay, so we got a Prohibit out of the opponent here. I wonder if they have a second. They're going to be able to Ghostly Flicker and still cast another spell. So they definitely do have an answer to Crypt Rats here. Let's just flash back the Edict instead. 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, now we'll play the Crypt Rats. So they're going to be able to Echoing Truth the Crypt Rats. Great. Thanks for the big time follows or whatever. Anyway, they're going to be able to Echoing Truth the Crypt Rats and hold up Prohibit. So we aren't going to be able to wipe out their board. We are going to keep them on their toes here. They only have 12.5 minutes to finish the match. So while they're nearly there for winning this game, they're going to have a lot of work to do to win the match in that amount of time. Okay, they have plenty of mana. They have Prohibit up. There's no reason to cast the Crypt Rats into that. We'll pass the turn. We'll just hold up Bonder's Ornament. Preserve our clock. Evincar's Justice is interesting. Okay, so we only have 10 cards left in our library. We are going to lose this game very soon. But the opponent only has just over 10 minutes left on their clock, so it's going to be difficult for them to win the match. Ghostly Flicker on Island Ochaeomancer. Looks like they're just looking to basically win the game here. Okay, and that will be enough to win the game. So we'll just let this happen. Okay, so Weather the Storm can come out. We're going to want to bring in Faerie Macabre and Guildmage. We could also bring in Feldon's Cane as an answer to their mill strategy. It'll only work for one turn, but that is something that we're looking to do if we're going to beat out the opponent. Thinking the Evincar's Justice doesn't actually hit very many targets, so we'll take the Justice out instead of the Tragic Slip. The Raven's Crime could actually be interesting. Okay, we have a hand here with Knight's Whisper and 2 lands we're going to keep. The Pulse of Murasa isn't doing too much work yet, but hopefully it'll do a bit of work late. Oh, Golgari Rot Farm. Interesting. We can triple crime next turn if we want. We're going to be definitely looking to get rid of that Sunscape Familiar though. And there's the Feldon's Cane to save our hand later. Okay, so we managed to get the Prohibit out of the opponent's hand. So now we can Edict and get rid of their Sunscape Familiar. So that's quite the coup for us. Okay, an Evoked Muldrifter to draw back up. They're using a Divination here, but they don't have Ephemerate or whatever to buy it back. So that's pretty good, actually. Chainer's Edict to take care of a future creature. We're just going to play Forest here, play Feldon's Cane, hold up Pulse of Murasa to get Ash Barrens out of the graveyard. We could just Pulse now and make them discard a card. We'll just pass. Okay, Mortuary Mire puts the Muldrifter back on top. And they're going to be able to do some shenanigans here in order to draw a bunch of cards. Okay, so they're just casting the Muldrifter full price and passing the turn back to us. Okay. We're going to thin our deck a little bit here, pull the swamp out of it, and we get another Ash Barrens for our troubles. So we can make them discard 2 cards here. And we also have the Chainer's Edict to make them sacrifice the Muldrifter. I want to keep a clock off the board. Thank you very much. Mistapped our mana a little bit there. We're off of Pulse of Murasa now. Let's see here. What are they going to grab with the Archaeomancer here? They grab the Prohibit. That makes sense. Do they have the mana to cast it? Looks like a no. Okay, so we're going to be able to play our Crypt Rats here. And we'll just pass the turn. We'll activate the Crypt Rats if they try and cast a spell into it, meaning if they try and blink the Archaeomancer or something. Oh, they're snapping the Crypt Rats here. Let's go ahead and activate the Crypt Rats so they don't get to untap their mana. A secondary snap on the Ochaeomancer. Makes sense. Okay, so they're going to be a little bit stuck on this turn. Let's see if they will counter the Night's Whisper. That's enough for the Prohibit. Okay. So we'll Pulse of Murasa the Crypt Rats. There's the Ochaeomancer again. What is that going to grab? The Prohibit again, maybe the Snap. It's going to grab the Snap. And Mortuary Mire putting Muldrifter back on top. Nope, another Ochaeomancer. So they're looking to be looping the Ochaeomancers for value here. But they only have 2 mana now, so they can no longer prohibit my Crypt Rats. We're just going to pass the turn here. We'll use the Crypt Rats, and then we can Witch's Cottage the Crypt Rats back on top of the library later, after they use a spell. If they want to attack for 1, that's fine. We have 26 life. It's going to be a hard time for them to attack our life total down. Pull some more lands out of our deck, and just pass the turn with Crypt Rats for 4, waiting to go. No reason to pull the trigger. Okay, we're going to fight over this Snap so that we can get the Ochaeomancer off the board, as well as the Ephemerate to be put into the graveyard. We do know that they do have another Ochaeomancer ready to go. We have a Witch's Cottage to put Crypt Rats back on top of our library. So we're still fighting too. Oh, a Guildmage. That would be great if they didn't have a Ephemerate up. Or sorry, not Ephemerate. Prohibit. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana. So we could Chainer's Edict and then play Guildmage afterwards. Okay, if the Guildmage gets to stick around, we can have them discard 2 cards a turn, which seems pretty good to me. And the Guildmage also blocks quite well. Looks like they have no answer to it right away. That's fantastic. And they discarded the Sage's Road Denizen. So they do have combo pretty much ready to go. But we have the Feldon's Cane in order to stop that. Okay, they have Ghostly Flicker, so they're going to be able to get card advantage even through the Guildmage here. Ghostly Flicker is going to be worth 2 cards, so they're going to be able to keep ahead of the Guildmage. Look at that, they got 6 cards in hand even after I Guildmage made them discard 2. Okay, there's a snap, return the Guildmage. So they're going to have a counterspell ready for that. We're going to play the Guildmage, draw out their counterspell, and then play Crypt Rats and try and clear their board out. But they only have 3 minutes, 20 seconds in order to finish the match. Okay, we get a Defile off the top. We expect to see a Prohibit here. That's okay. Now we'll play Crypt Rats. Oh, they had another Prohibit in hand. Okay. So they have an Ephemerate on the stack. Maybe we Defile the Archaeomancer in response to the Ephemerate coming back. Okay, so they have the Flicker, so they'll be able to save their creature, but the Ephemerate will be gone forever. Okay, Sunscape Familiar, so they're heading towards Combo Town. But they're getting the Mole Drifter back instead of the Sage's Road Denizen. Hi, White Sand. Yeah, that is the plan. We're going to upload this up to YouTube later, so you can check it out then. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Okay, let's see here. Do we keep up Cast Down, or do we cast the Chainer's Edict? I guess we can do both, right? We have enough mana for both. Cast down the Archaeomancer here. They get something back with the Mortuary Mire. Bring the Archaeomancer back. And that's going to get back the Ephemerate. That makes sense. You're going to be able to Ephemerate the Archaeomancer now, get back Ghostly Flicker. But they only have 1 minute and 40 seconds left, so that might not be enough time to mill us out. We also have the Feldon's Cane, so we're going to survive a single milling. And we have more life than I believe they'll be able to attack down. Bonder's Ornament. So they do have mana for Prohibit here. But I don't think we have any better plays, so we're just going to put this out. It resolves, and we'll pass. So we can draw extra cards now. Oh, they have a Destruction for it in Nature's Chant. They didn't care about the Feldon's Cane this whole time. So we'll draw an extra card here. And now they're going to Ephemerate the Archaeomancer and bring the Prohibit back. Okay, we get another Bonder's Ornament. Not something we can play right now. That's something for another turn. Yeah, you want to attack with that Godfarrow's Faithful? That's fine with me. Send a message. Okay, Tragic Slip. Unfortunately, Morbid is not quite the same as... what's the name of the mechanic for Fatal Push? Rebound? That's not it. In any event, it actually checks to see if a creature dies, not to see if a creature left the battlefield. So even though they're going to be ephemerating and ghostly flickering, Tragic Slip is not going to be able to kill any of their creatures. Okay, we pull out a counterspell with Bonder's Ornament. They have 48 seconds left on their clock. We'll pass. Okay, they're putting the counterspell back on top. Really figure that they would want to be using Ghostly Flicker to blink the Mortuary Mire. There it is. So that they can combo out with the Sage's Road Denizen. But they have 30 seconds left on the clock. They're just not going to have enough time. That is one of the problems with MTGO and control versus control matchups. The chess clock is a real thing. Opponent has less than 20 seconds left to go. So even though they have an obvious advantage in this game, they are still going to lose the match just because they weren't able to play fast enough. We have a 2-land hand. We have removal spells, Pulse of Murasa, but no way to cast it. I think we mulligan this. This is fine. We keep this and get rid of one of the edicts. We'll be able to first turn swamp, fetch up a forest. We'll have all of our mana. Bonder's Ornament for turn 3. We have removal spell ready for turn 2. Unique username, so I think they're going to be playing Stompy. That's what they've been playing every time I've seen them play. Chainer's Edict now, before they have a Nest Invader. Chainer's Edict becomes much worse once they have the Invader. There it is. We're going to play Bonder's Ornament here. Get a little bit of mana advantage going, which gives them the run of the turn, so they're going to be able to cast all their spells, get their good stuff going. Quirion Ranger is quite nice. Okay, this is an attack for 2. Attack for 2 is not so bad. Could mean they have a... what's the name of that card? Pit Skulk? No, River Boa. So they're going to have a hard time regenerating the River Boa this turn, so we can go ahead and cast it down. Evincar's Justice is interesting. That should kill the whole board, right? Very nice. Okay, we have the Chainer's Edict to answer that Ranger. And we can also Knight's Whisper to draw a card. We know one of their cards in hand is Rancor. They probably have a Vines of Vastwood in hand as well. We'll go ahead and draw a card here so we can put the Rot Farm down. It does tap us out for a turn, but we have access to several removal spells. Defile gets through Regenerate. We have 4, 5, 6, 7 mana so that we can recast the Chainer's Edict, which gets through most everything that they could possibly have here. Pulse of Murasa will be very good once we find a Crypt Rats. Let's start with a Knight's Whisper. Okay, we find a Thorn, we'll cast that. And hold up Cast Down. We also have access to Defile through the Bonder's Ornament here. Okay, Volt Scourge, we're going to want to do some work to kill that. They have 1 card in hand, so they'll be able to answer one of our spells. We should have cast the Cast Down in response to the Rancor. Now they get that card back for free. Okay, Weather the Storm is going to be quite nice. Read Them Bones. Bottom, top. And we'll pass. Okay, we're just casting Weather the Storm there, so we don't have to discard a card. We don't get much value out of it, we just gain 3 life. But we're at quite the advantage now anyways. We'll go ahead and cast Geth's Verdict, ask them to sacrifice a creature. They cannot respawn with the vines. Get the last basic out of our deck. We're just drawing gas now. 7 cards in hand, great. And we'll use the Crypt Rats for 7 to finish the game. Okay, so we're playing against a creature strategy. Our main deck is going to be quite strong versus Stompy. We could bring in Caustic Caterpillar to destroy a Elephant Guide. Don't mind that. Otherwise, we're not looking at too much value here on the other side. Don't mind taking out one Weather the Storm, but having access to a couple of those could mean that we're going to survive a couple of attack steps and be able to restabilize. So I think I would rather have Weather the Storm than Syphon Life. We could also bring in Desert. We can take out Bojuka Bog. I don't mind the Radiant Fountain here. Okay, so we have the Desert to potentially kill their attacking creatures. A land that just recursively kills their creatures is going to be very strong. I don't know whose idea it was to allow Desert into Pauper, but there it is. Okay, we have a 1-land hand. That 1 land is a Cottage. This is no good. We're going to mull. This is a much better hand. Much, much better. We can put the Pulse of Murasa back. And then we just have access to a ton of removal. So that's something that we like to see here. Okay, Nettle Sentinel is a very good turn 1 play from the opponent. We don't have a way to kill it yet. Once the Tragic Slip is online, we're going to be doing a bit better. Defile into Tragic Slip seems very strong. Okay, here's a Volt Scourge. And that's a pass the turn, so we'll just Tragic Slip the Scourge here. And then Chainer's Edict. Get rid of the Nettle Sentinel. Okay, Nest Invader. If we had the Geth's Verdict ready to go, we could cast it right now. Unfortunately, we do not, so we'll have to defile that Nest Invader. We're hoping for a land here. We get one, but unfortunately, it's not the type that we can use currently. Let's go ahead and defile the Nest Invader, and then we'll play the Rot Farm. Okay, River Boa. River Boa doesn't match up very well versus Crypt Rats. And we get an Evincar's Justice. So Evincar's Justice isn't going to be very good versus the Boa, but the Crypt Rats will be. I'm just wondering if I want to play the Crypt Rats this turn. I think it would be better to play the Bonder's Ornament. It's pretty close here, actually. Yeah, we're going to play the Ornament, and we have access to the Verdict that way. And then the Crypt Rats will be that much better next turn. Okay, Crypt Rats are going to be good at clearing out the rest of the board, so the Geth's Verdict will kill the River Boa. Interesting that they just go ahead and put a regeneration shield on the River Boa before doing anything else. Oh, that's for a Savage Swipe, that makes sense. So we're going to be able to activate the Crypt Rats in response. So we're going to hold priority here and activate the Crypt Rats twice so that they have to regenerate the River Boa an additional time. The Savage Swipe is not going to go off. It will kill the Eldrazi spawn, and we're hoping that Geth's Verdict will get the River Boa off the board next turn. Excellent. So now we can Geth's Verdict here. And we get a Witch's Cottage. We don't quite have enough swamps yet, so we're going to hold off on the Cottage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we can just Chainer's Edict instead of using the Geth's Verdict here. Okay, we have a Tragic Slip for the Volt Scourge. So we can wait to use that at an opportune moment. And we have Bonder's Ornament ready to draw a card. So we're hoping to be able to respond to something to hit the Volt Scourge. If they just want to hit us for 1, that's fine. Okay, Tragic Slip. Let's get rid of that Rancor. Because the Rancor is going to the graveyard from the stack, they do not get to put it back into their hand. Okay, another Rot Farm, which is taking us further away from the Witch's Cottage. Let's read them bones. I guess we could draw these. Just a whole bunch more card draw. Okay, we have our third swamp, so Witch's Cottage is good to go now. And we have access to a ton of removal for whatever creatures they decide to play. So we should be pretty locked in at this point. And Weather the Storm off the top. So we'll play Witch's Cottage, put the Crypt Rats back on top. And then we have access to it through the Bonder's Ornament, draw a card. Okay, we win. Interesting hand here. A little bit awkward, but we can rebuy the Bog with the Rot Farm, and we can go get basic Swamp. So I think this is just barely good enough to keep, but it is awkward. We're going to stumble for the first couple turns. So if the opponent is able to really put their foot on the gas, we could be in trouble. But they've mulliganed down to 4 here. So I think that that's going to give us the opportunity to come back from this awkward hand. Oh, a swamp off the top. That changes things quite a bit. So we can play the swamp, Ash Barrens for a swamp, and we'll have access to a much more fluid hand as the turns go through. So that swamp off the top was pretty much the best draw that we could hope for. Otherwise, we were going to be playing the Bojuka Bog, and we would have to wait till next turn to use the Ash Barrens. Prophetic Prism, okay, we don't have to worry about that. Let's just go ahead and use this, go get Swamp. And we find Crypt Rats. Okay, so if we play the Golgari Rot Farm, we have to discard a card here. I don't think that Bojuka Bog is going to be all that strong versus this opponent. So we're just going to play the Bog and pass. It might have been better there to play the Swamp so that we could potentially Geth's Verdict, whatever they have to play here. Oh, it's just a Thraben Inspector, huh? Springleaf Drum. And draw a card off the clue. Okay. And a Frogmite. Okay. So they're really laying out their cards here. Crypt Rats are going to be pretty good versus this. And we get Read the Bones. So how are we going to play out this turn? I would like to get the Rot Farm out, which means I'm going to need to cast a spell. We could Geth's Verdict and then play the Rot Farm. Return Swamp, so we have an untapped source. We could play Swamp and just kill our board as well. I don't mind that, actually. We have access to cast down for a more important creature. But if we're just keeping the board clear here, and they have basically no cards in hand, that's fine. Give us time to read the bones. And they don't have another play, so that's excellent. We get Night's Whisper off the top. Let's read the bones first, use all our mana. We can return a land with Rot Farm. Okay, we have access to basically everything in our hand at this point. We should be able to win this game handily. With the opponent only at 2 cards in hand, we have 7. We have access to a ton of removal. The real problem is if they manage to make a turn where they can ATOG to the win. So we're going to be looking to prevent that specifically. We could Crypt Rats here, or we could Night's Whisper. I'm going to play the Crypt Rats out. They are a clock, technically. It's something to get back with Pulse of Murasa later. And we have to end the game somehow, right? In the meantime, we do have more time on our clock than our opponent as well. Okay, Mirror Enforcer, we can get rid of that quite easily with Chainer's Edict. We're going to save the cast down for an Atog. We'll save the green mana in case we want a Pulse. But if I'm speaking honestly, I probably want a Night's Whisper anyways. Okay, we get another Golgari Rot Farm here. And a secondary Crypt Rats. The Evincar's Justice aren't looking too hot right now. Okay, opponent has 3 cards in hand. And here's the Tog. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 12, 13 damage. And Galv Blast headed at our face. So we're going to have to cast down the Tog. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 13. And Galv Blast puts us to 12. So we're going to want to cast down in response to them sacrificing an artifact. And I think this saves us. They probably have Fling as the last card in hand. So I think this cast down puts us to 1. Then we'll have Pulse of Murasa to be able to go back up to 7. If they do end up Fling, they lose basically all of their board to put us to 1. And I think that we win that game. So they probably just have to allow the Atog to go here. Although they could sacrifice a couple permanents just to deal us some damage, send a message. I don't think that's going to play. Okay, we're just going to hit 6 here and let them do their thing. They get to decide how much damage they would like to do here, but it will not be lethal. Another option that we did actually have was to cast down the Atog with the Galv Blast on the stack. And that way, if they sacrificed all of their permanents in order to fling the Atog, the Galv Blast would have only done 2 damage instead of 4. Oh, we got Weather the Storm off the top. How cool is that, huh? Okay, we'll gain some life here. Go back up to 21. Your move, opponent. get back the Bojuka Bog here. I don't think the opponent will get any value out of their graveyard, but we're not stumbling very much by returning it, so no problem there. And we'll play the Rot Farm here instead of the Bojuka Bog because, like I said, the opponent's not getting any value from the graveyard. 3, 4, 5. So we could do 5 damage with the Crypt Rats right now. And we get another Pulse of Murasa. That's excellent. So our clock is quite slow here in the sense that Crypt Rats is not doing very much damage per turn, but we have an excellent control of the board. What we really fear here is second Atog into Fling again. But the Crypt Rat can actually do quite a bit of work against that, in the sense that we can do 2 damage at a time, so that they have to continuously sacrifice artifacts. But I think they have enough artifacts to get through that. So more so we would be looking at Pulse of Murasa to gain life past the point that they can do damage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they can't even do lethal yet to us. Let's see here, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we don't quite have lethal against them yet. Just looking at how much damage the Crypt Rats can do. Once the Crypt Rats can kill them, we're going to go ahead and do that. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So they have enough for lethal if we didn't have the Pulse of Murasa. Okay, that knocks it down, so they no longer have lethal. Mirror Enforcer, no problem. We have Chainer's Edict for that. Knock them down to 11. So that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We almost have lethal now. Another Enforcer. Again, no problem. We have another Chainer's Edict to answer that. And then we can play Thorn of the Black Rose, give us the Monarch, and that will really close the door on this game. Okay, they Galv Blast the Crypt Rats there. Smart play from the opponent. The Crypt Rats was about to kill them, but we have Pulse of Murasa to bring it back, and we also have another Crypt Rats in hand. As well as the cast down, so we should be pretty safe here. We probably should have kept up a green mana so we could pulse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so we weren't in much danger there. Okay, they're going to fling at the Crypt Rats. So we're going to use the Crypt Rats and do 2 damage. Just to get some extra damage in. Crypt Rats is dying anyways, might as well. And we win the game. Okay, so this is one of the matchups where we are going to want Gorilla Shaman. Caustic Caterpillar seems fine as well. So what are we going to want to take out? I think that Evincar's Justice isn't going to be great, but they do have Frogmite and Thraben Inspector and Atog, so Evincar Justice isn't terrible, per se. Maybe we take out Tragic Slip. I definitely want to keep most of my removal. So I think we'll take out one Justice, one Slip, and one green card, maybe. Or maybe we take out one of the draw cards. Let's take out Weather the Storm. We'll keep the Pulse of Murasa. Okay, so this hand is awkward, but keepable. We could Ash Barrens for Swamp. We have access to Defile and Cast Down to take care of their creatures. And then if we draw another land, we can Bonner's Ornament, which evens out our mana. Single red, huh? Chromatic Star, that makes sense. Navigator's Compass, they gain 3 life, and that evens out their mana. Yeah, you want to turn that seat into a Plains so that you can play your Thraben Inspector here. There you go. Okay, we have Defile for that. And we get Golgari Rot Farm. Very nice. We'll play the Swamp first so that we can defile the Thraben Inspector. But Golgari Rot Farm might have been the right play so that we could play the Bonder's Ornament next turn. I don't think that the Thraben Inspector is really much of a threat. We probably want to keep the Defile for the Tog. But we have multiple cast down for Tog. And for Mirror Enforcer, which is what we're going to do with our mana this turn. So they can go ahead and attack us for 1, that's no problem. We kill the Enforcer. No attacks, huh? That's a surprise. Okay, we get Gorilla Shaman. Very nice. Bonder's Ornament is going to be able to cast that later. So what are we going to do this turn? We could defile one of the Thraben Inspectors, or we could just not do that at all. We might as well go ahead and kill one of them so that we can use our mana. Gorilla Shaman is going to take over this game if we get a couple more turns. That's all we need, just a couple more turns. Gorilla Shaman will kill all their lands and it will be game over. So if they manage to play Tog next turn, that would probably be their best chance. But we're going to keep up Cast Down, just in case of that. We don't want to play the Gorilla Shaman into their potential removal spell. So we'll leave the Gorilla Shaman for next turn so we can kill all their things. Okay, we have access to double Defile or Cast Down. We'll just pass the turn here. And next turn, Gorilla Shaman will, I believe, win the game. We need to keep the Bonder's Ornament alive. Frogmite, no problem. Okay, Tog is a problem. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is 12, 13. Tog does not kill us. We can cast it down. And then we can take away all of its food. Okay, they have the Dispel for the cast down. They need a blue Elemental Blast here. I don't see any reason why they would bring that in. And Gorilla Shaman is really going to be proving its worth here. Okay, go ahead, opponent. The Raven Inspector, no problem. We can kill the clue. Okay, so we are going to be taking some damage here. Let's see here. We could take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's fine. Okay, we'll defile the Atog in response. That'll give the Atog -3/-3, and even if it isn't enough to kill it, it will preserve our life total. So we take 5 here, that's fine. Okay, and we win the match. So as we were considering what to cast there, the opponent has just conceded to us. We have a 2-land hand here. This is good enough. We can go Swamp Forest, Night's Whisper. We'll keep. Okay, we found a 3rd land. So we're going to be playing against, it looks like we're playing against Faeries. Dimir Faeries here. Yep, there's a Faerie Seer. So if we play the Crypt Rats, it could definitely die. On the other hand, they don't have mana to counterspell the Crypt Rats yet. I think the best thing for us to do is probably Night's Whisper, maybe Read the Bones, but we have so many cards in hand that if we did that, we would be discarding. So we could also play land Pulse of Murasa for the Ash Barrens. That would be one of the plays that wouldn't lose us any card value, or we could just play Crypt Rats. I think that just because we have so many cards in hand and we can get the Crypt Rats down through counter magic, we're going to play the Rats for now. That could definitely eat a removal spell. But like I said, we have so many cards in hand, I didn't want to discard to hand size here. And if they put a Ninja in play, we're fine with killing that too. Also, Crypt Rats is going to be amazing against Spellstutter Sprite. If they try and Sprite something, we can just wipe their board. Okay, and they're just playing a bunch of cantrips. Meanwhile, we're going to be playing cards that actually advance our hand size. Okay, we get another Rot Farm. So we're going to need to defile the Faerie Seer in order to keep from discarding cards. Okay, so we're going to really want to keep track of two things over the course of this game and match. One of them is going to be our clock, and the other is going to be the opponent's hand size. If we keep our hand larger than theirs, we're in good shape, and if we have more time on our clock than our opponent, we're in good shape. Okay, so they have the swamp, but that's not going to get them very much. We can go ahead and Chainer's Edict here. Get rid of that Faerie Seer. Attack them for 1. And then we can play the Rot Farm. Or we could play land, go to 6, Knight's Whisper, and that keeps us at 7. Or we could read the Bones. Okay, we bottom a swamp, draw a swamp. Thank you, Moto Shuffler. Keep the Defile, just as an answer to some of their more pressing threats. Good to have a Defile versus a Ninja, per se. Keep at 7 cards here. Unfortunately, we do have a lower clock than the opponent, so we can Crypt Rats here for damage. And we still hold up Pulse of Murasa. We also have access to Defile, Weather the Storm. We do have quite a low life total here, so we are going to have to watch that. Okay, we're going to pulse here for Crypt Rats. That plays through Spellstutter Sprite and gains us some life. If they have Counterspell, that's fine. Okay, we got our Crypt Rats back. Very nice. Okay, here's a Counterspell. So he could play second Crypt Rats. We have way more cards in hand than the opponent. And then we can play Rot Farm. Again, keeping our hand flush. We are quite a bit lower on clock compared to our opponent here. We are going to have to watch that. Okay, they're bringing in Ninja. So that's going to get them one card in hand, but we have the answer to the Ninja in the Crypt Rats. So they'll have to answer the Crypt Rats here. Okay, and their turn is taking quite a bit of time here, so we're catching up on clock through that. We'll attack with the Crypt Rats, keep our life totals equal. I think we'll just play Forest Pass here. Or we could actually Chainer's Edict. That's 4, 5, 6, 7. So we still have Defile up. Okay, a little bit of a misstep there. I would have liked to have done 1 damage with the Crypt Rats. But we have another Crypt Rats in hand, so that's fine. We'll just pass the turn here. Our clock is quite close here. This could be removal spell. I think they were just showing removal spell for Crypt Rats. If they want to attack, that's fine. We'll take the 1. Let's read the bones. Is not countered by Spellstutter Sprite. Okay, Witch's Cottage is fine. Tragic Slip is okay. Yeah, we can top these. Okay, Echoing Decay on the Crypt Rats here. So we'll go ahead and activate for 1. Get rid of their Fairy Seer while we're at it. That's a 2 for 1 for us. Storm count is 2, so Weather the Storm is going to get a bit of value. Let's go ahead and cast it. And then we'll read the bones, get back up to 7 cards. Okay, we get Ash Barrens and Geth's Verdict, so we can Ash Barrens for a swamp. Okay, Thorn of the Black Rose is quite good from the opponent. We don't have any way to get the Monarch back yet. We should have held the Defile here. If they have Spellstutter Sprite, they can just counter to the Defile, and we'll just lose a card. If we had done that on our turn, we would have had access to Tragic Slip. Oh, and we get a Thorn of the Black Rose off the top. Thank you, deck. Okay, so, Geth's Verdict. Tragic Slip. Thorn of the Black Rose. Witch's Cottage, put Crypt Rats back on top. Weather the Storm, gain a bunch of life. And pass the turn. We could also Night's Whisper here. So we got to do a ton of things, and we're keeping pace with the opponent's hand. They don't have a creature here, so they're not going to be able to take Monarch from us. But we are quite low on clock now. Okay, Spell Stutter Sprite. We're going to be able to defile that. Okay, they have a counter spell. We have no more instants. And we get cast down. We're going to try and hold on to the Monarch here. Okay, they do have another counter spell, but they only have one card left in hand. So they'll be able to take the Monarch, but we'll be able to take it right back. We have Chainer's Edict to get rid of their board. The one thing we're really trying to avoid here is going to be cast down from the opponent off the top. Okay, Chainer's Edict is taking a second on the stack here. They could have access to a second Spell Stutter Sprite, but if they do, we're going to get them with the Crypt Rats. So they just have to let this resolve, let us attack with the Thorn, and then take the Monarch back from us. But we're going to play the Crypt Rats second main, so that they won't be able to keep the Monarch. They won't be able to take it at all. Okay, they have the counterspell here, but they're out of cards, and we have cards. Okay, game is ended. Fantastic. So what are we going to do against Dimir Control? We're going to want Dimir Guildmage, for sure. And I think Raven's Crime is pretty good here as well. Desert is actually surprisingly good. They have a lot of X1s, so we could play that. We're going to take out a couple Weather the Storms. This matchup is going to be more about card advantage than life total. So we're fine with cutting Weather the Storm down to even a single copy. Don't want to go through the Syphon Life plan in this matchup. That's not playing. We're more interested in who has the card advantage. It's going to be more about who has the Monarch, who has more cards in hand, rather than who has the higher life total. And we also have Pulse of Murasa in order to insulate our life total, so we're not too worried about cutting Weather the Storm in this matchup. Okay, we have a large amount of lands here, but the desert is going to be very nice versus any of their Faeries, so we're going to keep. We also have Tragic Slip to answer some of their first spells. So we can play probably Witch's Cottage to start, depending on what they play. Okay, no creature to start, so we're going to play Witch's Cottage to start. And then we can Chainer's Edict, whatever their first creature is. If we can, potentially just play tap land at a tap land at a tap land. That's going to be fine. So we are lower than our opponent on clock here, so that is something that we are going to have to keep in mind. We did win one match through clock, so that's not something to to ignore, to be sure. We're going to use our shortcuts here as much as possible. But we do have access to Defile and Tragic Slip here. So we aren't going to want to just pass the turn. Okay, we get Forest. So I think we just play another land and pass. We'll play the Swamp because we have the Defile. So Defile now gives -2/-2. And if Defile kills something, Tragic Slip kills it harder. Okay, so we're just passing land, go, land, go, land, go. Might as well keep that going. We'll play Swamp Pass. We don't have access to any draw spells now. It's all removal spells. All removal all the time. Okay, Augur Bolas. First card we can kill. We'll use the Chainer's Edict to kill that. And they got no value out of the Bolas, so that's pretty good for us. Okay, Dimir Guildmage, fantastic card here. We're going to start out with an Edict. Okay. We'll play the Forest, and I think we just pass here. We could play the Dimir Guildmage, but we wouldn't have access to any of our removal spells. They could just counterspell it. Let's just pass here. Okay, another Swamp. We're going to play the Dimir Guildmage this turn because we can activate it the turn it comes into play if it resolves. And if they have actual factual counterspell for the Guildmage, then GG opponent. But they don't, so we'll go ahead and ask them to discard a card, get some advantage. Okay, they have the cast down, so this is a 2-for-1. Another Augur. Okay, they get Dispel off the top, so they have Counterspell for most of our hand here. But we have Chainer's Edict. 3, 4, 5, 6, Desert makes 7, so let's Edict. Okay, we get a Counterspell for half our card. That's pretty good for us. And we get another Dimir Guildmage. So hopefully we're looking at another 2-for-1 here. Or they could just have actual factual counterspell. We know one of their cards in hand is Dispel, which doesn't play against Guildmage. Okay. Ask them to discard a card. They discard the Dispel. So that's going to make the Defile that much better. Defile is -4. We have 3 swamps plus the Cottage, which counts. Another 2-for-1 out of the Guildmage. Excellent. We are not going to cast Defile into Spellstutter Sprite. We will, however, cast a Verdict. Okay, let's play Thorn of the Black Rose here. Hold on a second. We're not going to have access to the Desert plus Defile if we do that. I'm thinking I might play Crypt Rats instead. This way we have access to Desert, we have access to Defile. I like the Crypt Rats better here. We are a minute down on clock, so we're going to have to win the old-fashioned way. Attack with Crypt Rats, and then we'll Night's Whisper. We'll use a pair of black mana for that. Okay, we get another swamp. That's fantastic. So this might be the right turn for Thorn of the Black Rose. We have access to removal spell, and we get a counter spell out of their hand, so that's fine. Faerie Seer, no problem. We have Crypt Rats and Desert, so Faerie Seer cannot attack us. It does keep our Crypt Rats back, however. We'll get a swamp out of our deck, and we'll just pass the turn here. Attack me, I dare you. End of combat step. Okay, so we have to take the damage first. So that means that they could have a ninja here. End of combat step. So we have to put a stop here. Oh, I put a stop on my turn, not the opponent's turn. Shit. My mistake. First time playing with Desert. A little bit of a weird card. We'll just pass again. And Agony Warp on the Crypt Rats. So we're going to go ahead and activate them. We'll just do it for 5. We have another Crypt Rats in hand ready to go. And Desert kills Faerie Seer. We get another Desert. Okay, we'll just pass the turn. We could play Crypt Rats there. Probably would have been better too. Okay, we got the stop on end of combat. And opponent knows what's going on there, so they don't play into it. Okay, Stormbound Geist. That's something we're going to have to double kill. Crypt Rats is going to be very good at doing that. They're going to want a counterspell for that. Okay, they have one. That means we're going to have to double spell the Geist to kill it. Ah, another Geist. Okay, so we got the 2 spells to kill the Geist. And we get a Crypt Rats off the top. Okay, so we're at parity as far as cards in hand go. I have the advantage as far as the board goes. And Read the Bones is a fantastic draw off the top. They're going to need Counterspell to answer that. They don't have it, so we'll bottom. Hope for spells. Okay, we get spells. We'll go ahead and Night's Whisper. And we find Chainer's Edict. Cancel that. We'll Raven's Crime first. Okay. Oh, nice. We get their Gurmag Angler. Go ahead and use Chainer's Edict. Attack with Crypt Rats. And then we'll put Crypt Rats on top of our library. Okay, basic land cycling, so we knew they only drew a land here. We're going to have access to our turn. We're going to play second Crypt Rats. It's generally a non-bow to have two Crypt Rats on the board at the same time. But this is going to allow us to do some attacking. Okay, Relic of Progenitus. I imagine they're going to crack that immediately, just to draw a card. That is definitely not the card I wanted to exile, but it doesn't matter because they are cracking it to draw. Okay, here's a ninja. So we're going to want to kill that. We got the Defile off the top. So we'll use that to kill the ninja so we can attack for 2. Okay. We are now in draw territory. Chainer's Edict asking us to sacrifice a creature. We will. And we get a Rot Farm. So we can return the Witch's Cottage, so that we can get the Crypt Rats back after they kill it with Chainer's Edict. Okay, here's a Gurmag Angler. So we can kill that with Crypt Rats. Let's see what we draw off the top first. Okay, we get Ash Barrens. That's not going to play. We'll just play Witch's Cottage, put Crypt Rats back on top. And we'll pass the turn, I think. We might as well cycle. And we can use the Desert to do some tricks with the Crypt Rat. We could block the Gurmag Angler, Crypt Rats for 3, and then Desert to kill the Gurmag. Okay, we have the stop on end of combat. This does not say unblocked creature, it says attacking creature. Activate Crypt Rats for 1, 2, 3. Okay. Got the Angler off the board, and we're drawing Crypt Rats. Oh, did we shuffle? We shuffled the other Crypt Rats away, so my bad. We do have Pulse of Murasa, and they have no cards in hand, so I think that wins. They have no cards in hand. We'll just deal 4 damage and win the match. Okay, this hand is quite slow. Quite slow indeed. But depending on our opponent, we have Pulse and Weather the Storm to keep going. Read the Bones to find some more cards. If we're fighting an aggro deck, we're in quite a bit of trouble. But if we're not fighting aggro, then we might make it out. Okay, Basic Forest is very scary here. Nettle Sentinel, we're probably losing this game. We find a Defile off the top. but that is not going to be enough to kill the Nettle Sentinel. We have to play the Swamp regardless, so we'll play Swamp Pass. And if they play Aquarian Ranger, we can Defile it. Okay, Volt Scourge, that's something we can Defile. Let's get rid of that. And we get another Weather the Storm. So we're just going to have to play Rot Farm and pass. Okay, they have 4 cards in hand and 3 lands. We expect them to have something good here. Elephant Guide for the Nettle Sentinel. That is quite good. One of the best things they could possibly be doing this turn, in fact. Okay, we find another Golgari Rot Farm. Really not what we're looking for here. We could read the bones to try and find answers. Or we could Pulse of Murasa for no value. We could also Weather the Storm for no value. We're going to read the bones here, try and find an answer. We need some removal spells. Specifically looking for sacrifice effects, or... oh, none of these are any good. We're going to bottom. We find the cast down, so that's something. We're going to have to pass here, and we're going to put one of the Rot Farms into the graveyard. We just don't have time for all these Rot Farms. Okay, River Boa. That's going to be a bit of a problem. But we're going to be able to cast down and Weather the Storm on the next turn. We're going to do it during their turn, I think. Oh, but the Chainer's Edict, does that change anything? They probably Chainer's Edict the Nettle Sentinel. Chainer's Edict here, get rid of one of their critters. I would guess that they're going to sacrifice Nettle Sentinel here. And then we'll Weather the Storm, gain 6 life. I don't want to throw Cast Down into their... oh, what's the name of that card? Vines of Vastwood. So the Chainer's Edict was a very nice pickup there. Just got to wait for the opponent to decide how to react, if they want to sacrifice the Sentinel and get a 3/3, or if they want to sacrifice the Boa. Okay, this makes sense. And we'll Weather the Storm, gain a bit of life, so that we don't just die here. I think we go back up to 12. Oh, and they have a Hunger the Howl pack for the Elephant. So we're going to be taking 8. Okay, so let's see here. We have 4 mana, so we need to cast down into Weather the Storm, which means we cannot play a land. We could play a land if we want to cast down Weather the Storm this turn, but I'd rather do it during their turn. Although that does give them access to something with Kicker. Vines of Vastwood with Kicker. But if they have Vines, we're dead anyway. So we'll just go ahead and cast down the Elephant. Okay, it worked. Now we'll Weather the Storm. Opponent still has 3 cards in hand, but it doesn't seem like they have tricks. So they must have creatures. Ledgewalker's a problem. We get Night's Whisper off the top. So we can Tragic Slip one of the River Boas, and then we can Pulse of Murasa to get a land back. Okay, you cannot regenerate from a Tragic Slip. Gaining some life back. But our hand is still quite poor. We have a bunch of draw for life here, and they're pressuring our life total in a way that makes me not want to cast these cards. We're taking 5 here, and if we cast Read the Bones, we are basically dead on board. Okay, we get Chainer's Edict, so that's a nice card off the top. Let's go ahead and ask them to sacrifice a card. We wanted to hold up green mana there just in case we got another Weather the Storm. Looks like we got no luck here, so we'll just play another Golgari Rot Farm and basically lose. We do have access to Chainer's Edict next turn, so they're going to need to do something, and they have something. Okay. I do believe that our main deck is quite well set up for this matchup. We could bring in a Caustic Caterpillar to destroy a Elephant Guide. I don't think that we want to try and ambush their Rancors with Faerie Macabre, but if there are any other cards we want to take out, we could bring in Syphon Life. Also, Desert is quite good here. So we're going to take out the Bojuka Bog. I'm going to take out one of the Rot Farms and one of the Cottages. And then for the Caustic Caterpillar, we'll take out one of the Read the Bones. And I think we'll play with this. Let's see here. All the removal is good. We want all the removal spells. We want all the life gain spells. Let's submit. Evincar's Justice can be excellent in this matchup. I got to admit, I am really hoping to get the 5-0, obviously. It would be my first trophy in Pauper. It would be nice if we managed to get it with the Golgari Control, which is a fantastic list. Absolutely want to play first. We have a 2-land hand. We have removal. It's a little bit awkward, but I think it's good enough to keep. Untapped land would be excellent here, so we could put the Chainer's Edict into play. No luck. So we'll have to wait till next turn to start playing Magic. If they're just doing 1 damage a turn, that's not something we have to worry about. Okay, we get Geth's Verdict. We can just Chainer's Edict here. Ask them to sacrifice a creature. That is going to be good if they have Hunger of the Howlpack in hand. But we have the Swamp up, so they might fear Defile, which unfortunately we do not have. So they're going to be able to hit for a ton of damage here. But we have Geth's Verdict to answer that. That's going to leave us with 2 green mana, so we might as well weather the storm afterwards. Okay, they have a bunch of lands here, but they aren't playing any creatures. So maybe we just play Thorn of the Black Rose. And then plan on killing every single thing that they present after this. Another land, and River Boa. Tragic Slip takes care of that quite nicely. We get a swamp off the top. So we could play Bonder's Ornament here and just hold up Tragic Slip. We have a blocker for the River Boa. We could also play Night's Whisper here, but I'm kind of interested in keeping the mana open so that if we draw a secondary removal spell, we can cast both. Okay, we do get one, but it is a sorcery, so we will have to wait. If they have something quite nice here, they could potentially steal the Monarch away from us. Okay, Nest Invader, we have Evincar's Justice for that. They want to regenerate the Boa, that's fine. Hunger the Howlpack will Tragic Slip in response. And they have Vines of Vastwood, okay. So they have a Regeneration Shield. They get that. Oh right, and the Tragic Slip doesn't work, okay. But they're tapped out. So we can go ahead and Evincar's Justice. Wipe their board. And then we can Night's Whisper, draw 2 cards. Play land and pass. We managed to keep the Monarch. We have Pulse of Murasa. We're doing pretty good here. They only have 1 card left in hand. Elephant Guide. Okay, that's pretty good. We're going to have to 2-spell to get rid of that. But because we have the Bonder's Ornament, that's something that we don't mind doing. Okay, we have 3 mana left. We're just going to read the bones. We already have a Pulse of Murasa, so we're going to put the Pulse on the bottom, Crypt Rats on top. Okay, opponent has 1 card left in hand. We have 5. We have the Monarch. We have Bonder's Ornament. We're doing very nicely here. Let's land cycle. Go get Swamp. Okay, we'll just play Crypt Rats, hold up Bonder's Ornament to draw a card, and pass the turn. Opponent is in quite a bit of trouble here. We should have this game locked up. Okay, Nest Invader. Crypt Rats takes care of that very nicely. Excuse me. Okay, we'll go ahead and Crypt Rats for 3, and we'll still have mana for Pulse of Murasa. Then we'll Golgari Rot Farm, return a swamp. I suppose we should have returned the forest there. Returning forest would have been slightly better if we had Defile in hand, per se. We're going to pass the turn here. We have mana up for Bonder's Ornament. And we got the Caustic Caterpillar for any future Elephant Guides. Feeling very confident about this game. We're just going to have to close it out so that we have enough time for Game 3. Opponent is taking quite a bit of time on their turns. Don't know what they have to think about. They might be double queuing. Okay, we get a cast down. I don't think there's any reason to activate the Crypt Rats here. We will Chainer's Edict. And then we can continue to attack for 1. We have 4, 5, 6 black mana, 7 with a Bonder's Ornament. So we need to attack for a few more turns in order to kill them. We're going to keep the Thorn of the Black Rose in hand. We don't really have much reason to be deploying our cards right now. We can just keep them in hand. Okay, we still have 8 cards in hand, so we have to play something. We'll play the Caustic Caterpillar. We are going to go up to 8 cards here. We'll just get rid of Swamp. We have a ton of removal. It's fine that we don't have access to Bonder's Ornament this turn. So we have 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 damage with Crypt Rats here. We're almost done the game. And we still have plenty of time left on our clock for Game 3. One of the things that we do have to consider, they could be playing something like Weather the Storm, so we're not positive that the Crypt Rats will kill them outright. Green does have access to life gain. I don't imagine that Stompy would bring in Weather the Storm in this matchup. And I think that with all the cast downs, we should be fine through that. We're just going to put down Bonder's Ornament so we don't have to discard it. And then we'll play the Thorn of the Black Rose. So we don't have to discard anything. We still have access to plenty of mana, plenty of answers. We should be totally fine here. Okay, we got a concession. So we're 1-1 on match 5. I don't think I want to change anything about the list. So we're just going to go ahead and submit and pour ourselves a drink. I would call this hand good enough. Definitely not great. But it could do the job. Let's keep it. We have double removal spell, we have Weather the Storm, we have Desert. I think it's good enough. Opponent does mulligan. And they have no turn 1 play, that's very good for us. We'll play Swamp and pass. Okay, here if they have, Burning Tree Emissary into Burning Tree Emissary could be quite a problem. Okay, they have Nest Invader instead. Still, very good turn from the opponent. And we get another Weather the Storm off the top. Come on, deck. We'll put a stop at end of combat so the desert can do its thing. But we're probably looking to cast down in response to something here. I think the best thing possible for us would be if they tried to Elephant Guide something so we could cast down in response. Rancor would be fine. We would cast in response to Rancor as well. Otherwise, we're just going to let the opponent attack. And we'll cast down so that we can just prevent 2 damage. Maybe I should have mulliganed this. We're missing green mana. We only have 2 removal spells. But, I mean, like, how could I have known that we were going to draw 2 Weather the Storms, right? If we get access to green mana, the Weather the Storms are going to buy us a lot of time. Okay, we are ahead on clock now, but that doesn't matter in this matchup, I don't think. We each still have over 14 minutes for this final game, so I really don't believe the clock is going to be a factor at all. Okay, they're starting combat. They're going to attack. We will cast down the Emissary. Okay, and they do not have Hunger the Howlpack. Ledgewalker is pretty good on their side. And we get Geth's Verdict. So we can Chainer's Edict them. We also have the Desert. Unfortunately, the Desert does not hit the Ledgewalker. Might as well Edict, right? Get rid of that spawn. And then the Geth's Verdict will have more teeth later on. Okay, the Elephant Guide onto the Ledgewalker is a problem. Okay, we get Evincar's Justice, a turn too late. So we could use the Justice, get rid of the Nest Invader, and then hopefully use the Geth's Verdict to get rid of the Ledgewalker, depending on what they have in hand. We are in quite a bit of trouble as far as our life total goes. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we're dead. GG, opponent. Those Weather the Storms just blocked up our hand there. Even with green mana, like basic forest off the top, we're still not going to be able to do anything. Just deciding if I want to say anything to the opponent here. Still, 4-1 is going to be nice for the YouTubes. Alright, I think we're just about done bantering with the opponent here. So we got the 4-1. Pretty satisfied with that, honestly. 4-1 and Pauper's pretty good. I would have really enjoyed to get the 5-0 with this Golgari list. But all in all, I'd say I was very satisfied with the way it played out. So this is the list that I was playing today. Almost card for card what Deluxeicoff or Pauperganda was playing a couple weeks ago. The one change I made was I brought in 4 Chainer's Edicts instead of the instant speed Diabolic Edict. I was really looking at the flashback cost, and as you saw, we cast the Chainer's Edict from the graveyard several times during this league, giving us card advantage. One of the main aspects of this deck is finding card advantage. We're playing Night's Whisper, Bonder's Ornament, Read the Bones, Thorn of the Black Rose. We are all about card advantage. So having that Chainer's Edict just as an extra slot to be able to 2-for-1 our opponent, I thought was quite good. Otherwise, the Gorilla Shaman was actually surprisingly powerful. I had my reservations about the card when I was looking at the list. I thought it's going to be very difficult to find the mountain, but we have the Bonder's Ornament, we have the Ash Barrens. So getting the Gorilla Shaman onto the board isn't as difficult as I thought it would be, and once it resolves, it's basically GG WP too easy.